After analyzing almost every animated twist villain out there, I can tell you something for sure. There are only 4 successful ways you can reveal a twist that will stick in the mind of the audience. And the first way to do this is through the sudden snap reveal technique. It's when a villain doesn't just creep into a role. The protagonist doesn't slowly unravel the red flags or signs. Instead, they snap. In one moment, one choice, they reveal exactly who they are. But it's only as effective as the emotional weight it carries. Let's break down how this functions using Ernesto de la Cruz from Coco as a central case. To bring this reveal to perfection, Disney's writers used 3 important techniques. The first of which is the illusion of alignment. For a snap reveal to have weight, the villain must first be perceived as aligned with the protagonist's goals, values, or desires. In other words, they must appear to be someone the hero can trust. But the trust doesn't have to be mutual. It just has to be believable.
Ernesto de la Cruz, the greatest musician of all time.
In Coco, Miguel goes from believing that Ernesto is the greatest musician of all time to believing he is his great-great-grandfather.
Miguel, your great-great-grandson.
That belief fills a void in Miguel's identity. Ernesto represents legacy, destiny, and even validation.
Señor de la Cruz, please don't be mad.
The film spends over an hour reinforcing this emotional alignment. Miguel idolizes Ernesto long before they meet. He symbolizes Miguel's freedom from his family's hatred of music.
No music! No music!
Miguel found a way to develop a deep love for music because of Ernesto, and he didn't have a choice because the dude is a public hero, beloved by the world and romanticized by history.
The most beloved singer in Mexican history.
This is key. The more the protagonist invests in the villain, the deeper the cut when the betrayal lands. Ernesto's villainy was hidden in cultural worship, misdirecting the audience and even the unfortunate protagonist, Miguel. And they didn't just stop at status. There were also some misdirections done through visual clues, such as the photo without a head. All this was a perfect foreshadowing leading to the second core element of the snap reveal. That is, the sudden removal of the mask, the abrupt delivery of the betrayal. It is sudden in timing, but in a technical sense, it's either placed around the 75% mark of the movie after an all is lost moment, or at the midpoint, always built up with a little lead up or suspicion in the immediate scene.
Miguel, I give you my blessing.
It can even be casual in tone, such as when Ernesto drops the truth without remorse, almost as if revealing something trivial.
I never meant to take credit. We made a great team, but you died.
Then there might be denial.
You poisoned me. You're confusing movies with reality, Hector.
This is followed by an immediate action, usually a violent or emotionally charged betrayal to signal the full turn.
But I'm your family!
And Hector was my best friend.
That line is loaded. It reframes the narrative with implication. Ernesto didn't just murder his best friend. His entire legacy is built on theft and betrayal. Miguel's idol is a fraud and, worse, a murderer. This is the structural sweet spot of the snap reveal. The character the audience was taught to root for is exposed as the root cause of the conflict. And the speed of the turn, just one sentence, one tone shift, delivers the betrayal like a knife twist. Importantly, the value of this reveal lies not just in shock, but in emotional reversal, which makes up the third key element of the snap reveal. In Coco, it goes beyond just being a plot twist in the thriller sense. It's an emotional collapse, a reversal of belief, and a welcoming of regret. Indeed, Miguel is devastated by the truth he learns. He feels betrayed, stupid, used. That reaction pulls the audience into the emotional core of the twist, and that's the hidden engine behind all successful snap reveals. It does more than surprise you. It also undoes everything the protagonist believed to be true. Now, compare this to Frozen's reveal of Hans. They attempted the same technique, A character who seems trustworthy is suddenly revealed as the villain, but it lacks the same mechanics. Why? Well, for one, lack of narrative centrality. Hans isn't emotionally or thematically central to Anna's core identity. Elsa is. Hans is just a stand-in for a romantic subplot, not the emotional anchor of her arc.
Can I just say something crazy?
I love crazy.
There was barely any structural foreshadowing, and the ones that existed were too subtle. For example, when he sang with Anna, he pointed to the kingdom while he said,
I've been searching my whole life to find my own place.
Also, Hans is often seen wearing gloves, similar to Elsa, who uses them to conceal her powers, and when he betrays Anna, he is seen removing them. As said before, these types of signals are too subtle for most people to notice or even care about. Because of this, Hans felt like he was just a very nice guy deeply in love, until he wasn't.
If only there was someone out there who loved you.
What?
At least with Ernesto, you could feel some foreshadowing in the picture without a head. In the claims made by Hector when he first met Miguel,
If you're such good friends, how come he didn't invite you?
and even in Ernesto's smug character. Whereas Hans seemed to wake up one day and was suddenly a bad person. Worse, his betrayal came with barely any cost. When he did Anna dirty, she was shocked, yes, but the betrayal doesn't alter how she sees herself, her family, or the world. It's a plot detour, not a narrative collapse. Hence, to separate a successful snap reveal from a hollow one, shock alone is not enough. The betrayal must reframe the character's emotional reality. But what if you want to go a step further with a reveal that doesn't just change emotional realities, but entire worlds? That's where the second technique comes in. Where the snap reveal hits like a betrayal, the identity reveal plays like a reconstruction. It asks the audience to look back and reassemble what they thought they knew. Here, the audience often meets the villain long before their true nature is known. The villain wears a mask, literal or metaphorical, and the story invites the audience to engage in a kind of narrative detective work. If the snap reveal is about emotional collapse, the identity reveal is about realization and recontextualization. Take King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph. He's present and active throughout the movie, even though he's in a separate identity. He wears a public face that is socially powerful. This type of representation that provides critical support to the protagonist or the world, or simply just represents order or stability and not chaos, is peculiar to the identity reveal. It is what makes King Candy effective. He's not lurking in the shadows, he's ruling the game.
Sourville, that glitch cannot be allowed to race!
He interacts with the main characters, enforces rules, and even appears as a comic relief figure.
Beyond the halitosis you so obviously suffer from.
The story design gives him space to feel safe and familiar. That's a key element. Familiarity builds blindness. Wasn't that how they said it? Anyway, the more the audience sees the villain as part of the scenery, the less likely they are to question their presence. And this bald-headed dude with a clown nose was every freaking where. Therefore, the moment King Candy is revealed as Turbo, the entire world of Sugar Rush changes. Suddenly, Vanellope isn't a glitch, she's royalty.
Princess Vanellope.
King Candy isn't the protector, he's the virus.
I'm now the most powerful virus in the arcade!
The stakes shift instantly, and the audience is forced to reevaluate everything. The reveal comes just before the final act. Not too early, not too late. It weaponizes the audience's trust at a critical moment when they think the worst is over. That sudden gut punch makes the final confrontation personal, urgent, and earned.
Is that? No way!
But it's not the twist itself, it's how it reframes the story in a single breath, with no time to recover. And that's what makes a reveal like King Candy's not just surprising, but devastatingly effective. Now, compare that to Zootopia's Bellweather, which attempted this same strategy but with less emotional and narrative payoff. One of the reasons why Zootopia flopped with its villain is the most obvious one: minimal presence. Bellweather is introduced early, but she's a side character with little narrative influence.
Assistant Mayor Bellweather, her badge.
Oh, yes,
Thank you.
She's not a mentor, nor an obstacle, nor even a foil. She's just there. Even holding a position as big as assistant mayor doesn't give her much relevance. She's persistently pushed around.
Okay, I heard you, Bellweather. Just take care of it.
It's like cotton candy.
Where to?
Rainforest District.
Bellweather!
So, when she's revealed as the villain, the twist is that character existed and is evil, rather than that character you thought you knew is actually someone else. There are no built-in contradictions or signals to track. Bellweather isn't hiding suspicious behaviors, she's simply playing a flat role until she suddenly flips.
How did you know where to find us?
I'll go ahead and I'll take that case now.
And emotional stakes? Hardly any. Her betrayal doesn't change how Judy or the audience feels about anyone else in the film. It doesn't reframe Judy's beliefs, her identity, or her worldview. The twist doesn't redefine the conflict, it just closes it.
Blood, and death.
All right, you know what, you're milking it.
In a nutshell, the identity reveal works when the villain is present, active, and embedded in the world. When the audience is given hidden signals that feel unimportant until they aren't, the reveal reframes the entire structure of the narrative and not just the last act. Now, you might be thinking from my previous two examples that there always have to be pieces to put together for an effective twist, but that's where you're wrong. Some twist villains don't rip the mask off in a single shocking moment. Instead, they peel it back slowly, layer by layer, until there's no denying what's been hiding beneath. These villains don't arrive with thunder and betrayal. They blend in. They build trust, offer guidance, and maybe even comfort. And by the time we realize who they truly are, we're already in too deep. That's what makes the creeping realization so effective. It's not just about deceit, it's about erosion. Erosion of trust, of safety, and eventually of the hero's belief system. Take Stinky Pete from Toy Story 2, a character who is introduced with calm authority and quiet intellect. He doesn't force himself into the story. In fact, he's boxed up.
Woody, you can go back.
Literally. When we first meet him, tucked away in his packaging like he's got nothing to prove. Unlike Woody or Buzz, who often act impulsively or emotionally, Pete is a listener and a thinker. He cares and looks out for everyone.
All right, come on. Let me see that. Just a popped seam, easily repaired.
He presents himself as someone above the drama. This sets the stage for one of Pixar's most underhanded manipulations. At first, Pete seems like a mentor figure. He encourages Woody to consider the bigger picture, the value of being preserved in a museum, and the possibility of being remembered forever.
It's your choice, Woody. You can go back, or you can stay with us and last forever.
When Jessie reveals her trauma, Pete positions himself as the one person who's always been there for her. The trust we give him feels earned.
Go on, Jesse. I promise you'll come out of the box. Now go!
What he's really doing is manipulating Woody into accepting a new identity.
Do you really think Andy is going to take you to college or on his honeymoon?
Pete doesn't just lie. He frames things. He points out facts in ways that seem objective, even generous.
Why, you don't know who you are, do you?
He doesn't just deny things. He redirects the attention.
I don't know how that television turned on, but fighting about it isn't helping anything.
It's subtle, almost imperceptible, until Woody decides he wants to go home and Pete finally says no.
I tried reasoning with you, Woody, but you keep forcing me to take extreme measures.
The moment Pete turns isn't explosive, it is locked in a suitcase. It's cruel and deliberate, yes, but also quiet. That's when the full extent of his manipulation becomes clear. He hasn't been trying to isolate Woody.
Wait a minute, you turned on the TV last night, not Jesse.
He has been controlling him, not through violence, but through ideology. The betrayal hits because he seems reasonable and safe.
You really are Stinky Pete, aren't you?
Prospector, this isn't fair.
But like all good Pixar movies, Stinky Pete met a foul end, and the day was saved.
Hi. I like Amy. She's an artist.
Surely, Pixar couldn't use the creepy reveal for a villain in a movie anytime soon, let alone in the same movie series, right? Because that would be too obvious. But they did. They revealed the villain of the next Toy Story movie in the exact same way, and it still worked. He was soft and gentle.
Welcome to Sunnyside, folks. I'm Lotso Huggin' Bear.
He was someone who appeared to be an ally to Andy's toys.
Now let's get you all settled in.
They designed him to look like a cuddly purple teddy bear. And unless you've seen the movie before or you wrote the script, there's no way to guess he's the villain. Dude was a caring and thoughtful leader.
So you got donated by this Andy, huh? Well, it's his loss, Sheriff. He can't hurt you no more.
Needless to say, he was a hugger.
First thing you gotta know about me, I'm a hugger.
So how does a purple teddy welcoming stray toys come off as villainous? Well, that happens when, just like Pete, he doesn't allow them to leave.
Well, here's the thing, sweet potato. You ain't leaving Sunnyside.
Yep, it turns out that Lotso was nothing more than a control freak who ran the daycare like a mafia.
And who's gonna stop us?
Similar to Stinky Pete, all his actions subtly hint at his villainy until the big reveal. It's not until you start looking at it in retrospect that it becomes obvious. Lotso has to keep things tight in his little empire, and with all the toys in number, it wouldn't make sense to be tyrannical right from the bat.
Thrown out together, me and him, abandoned by the same owner.
Unfortunately, he's a low-key cult leader. He has all the toys in there with him indoctrinated through his manipulation, and it has worked.
Oh boy. Good work, Lightyear. Now lock him up. Yes, sir.
His biggest strength is deception, and boy did he have us fooled in the first half of the movie. Even when he had shown his true nature, he was still fooling our favorite living action figures.
Where's your kid now, Sheriff?
Until he too met his end. Both Pete and Lotso follow the same slow, methodical arc. They don't flip the switch. They dial it down until light becomes a shadow and safety becomes a threat. The audience participates in their unraveling, which makes the emotional payoff all the more intense. But that's not all the audience does. We also see the twist villain before the characters do because of built-up dramatic irony. That is, we go from asking, who is the villain, to when will they realize it? The audience picks up on red flags early on, creating a slow, creeping dread. It deepens the emotional payoff, makes the hero's trust feel more tragic, and gives the villain more control over the story until the moment of full revelation. But what if the villain isn't hiding behind manipulations or playing the long game? What if they are the very authority everyone is supposed to trust? Sitting at the top of the system, wrapped in authority, respect, and institutional power. This is basically what the institutional reveal means. To make this work, Pixar used Monsters, Inc. to do one thing that most movies are scared to do: make monstrosity a societal norm. That's right, in this universe, it's actually standard protocol for monsters to, behave like monsters. It's the one activity that keeps their world running, literally. It's established that if monsters stop scaring kids out of their socks, then their world would literally go back to the prehistoric era. So that's why Sully is like the GOAT of terrorizing little kids, and we the audience still love him.
Hey, Tony!
Since we can't hold what he does against him, it's so easy to be won over by his charisma.
We're working for a better tomorrow.
However, when Randall comes rolling around, it couldn't be more clear who is going to be causing trouble in this movie, right?
What's this?
Wazowski!
His enmity with Sully alone was enough to establish him as the antagonist, but all around, he was really just a big jerk. Still, you can't really blame him. It's hard to imagine having the ability to be invincible and not using it for nefarious schemes. But here's where Pixar got really creative with the lore of this movie. If being a monster is considered the norm, then being less of a monster should be a heinous abomination. Monsters view humans like germs. To them, humans are useful in the right conditions, but dangerous when allowed to roam freely. So when Mike and Sully learn the truth about Boo, we truly do understand why they have to be discreet about getting her back home.
Hey, what's the matter?
But then our very able main villain shows up to ruin the day.
Where's the kid? What kid?
Except there's one problem. Randall isn't even the main antagonist. Yes, we've had our eyes on him for most of the entire movie, but he's not the mastermind of the new way of extracting energy from scared kids. What makes this even more shocking is that we've known the main villain since the beginning of the movie, but we just didn't know him as such.
Oh, what a day.
It's shocking, but is it really surprising? Mike and Sully had a whole scene where they learn Boo is actually harmless, but Mr. Waternoose didn't even flinch when Mike was explaining things to him.
Let's take care of the child.
Randall, being nothing more than Waternoose's henchman, really puts into perspective how evil of a person this crustacean freak is.
I never should have trusted you with this.
This is a character who throughout the movie exudes nothing but a super friendly attitude. His reveal was so smooth that it took a few more scenes for us to be convinced that he was truly evil. Because doing your favorite employee dirty like that takes a lot of heartlessness, especially when, early on, it looked like he and Sully had a father-son thing going on. However, his good guy act was really just a mask. He's evil and he knows it, but as a businessman, he knows how important his image is.
This company can't afford any more bad publicity.
So all that greed and corruption have to be hidden behind a false display of righteousness. No CEO would truly let his company die.
I would do anything to keep it from going under. So would I, sir.
He knew the truth about kids being harmless. He kept his machine a secret, and if it wasn't for the fact that he was alone with Sully, he wouldn't have known just how twisted Mr. Waternoose is.
I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die.
His first question after Sully tells him everything shows just how secretive he is.
Does anyone else know about this?
And when no one's looking, that's when his natural self is unmasked.
And I'll silence anyone who gets in my way.
But that's also the problem, because when he doesn't truly know who's watching, he's his most vulnerable. And when the cat's out of the bag, the game's over.
You know what? Let's watch my favorite part again, shall we?
Villains will always be villains, no matter how well they hide. But what if these villains weren't hiding and were out there in the open from the start? Even worse, what if there were two in one movie? How would that look? Well, click this video here to see how to write two perfect villains in one movie.